So
There we go.
grammarian starts, I guess.
Oh,
Isn't that how we do it? She goes over the grammar point, then I talk about the students.
sure. I didn't realize we had such a specific format.
I
Note
don't
brush
know.
up. So I'm gonna start taking notes as Bailey tells us about the grammar point, and we'll.
And did you see that Bailey left a nice space on the bottom of the grammar point, which could be a useful place?
Yeah.
Okay, so this week conjunctions I think are pretty straightforward. So long as you're thinking of them as the joining words, there are a couple exceptions, I guess, to when conjunctions are joining two clauses together. If, for example, you're starting a sentence with a conjunction, and I think most teachers advise students against doing that unless they're at a higher level because it generally leads into fragments. Some of the, let's see, I went over in the notes like patterns of use for conjunctions. They can be used for connecting two ideas, connecting objects, connecting a series of objects like in a list. And
that was a useful summary.
thank you. Then I did common mistakes for language learners, and maybe as I go through them, you guys can tell me if you've seen your kids do this, and I think some of them run true for just all students in general, but overuse of conjunctions that lead to run-ons.
Mm-hmm.
Underuse of conjunctions, I see this a lot where students write in kind of choppy sentences. Instead of saying like, the apple is red, sweet, and crunchy, they might say, I like this because it's red, and I like it because it's sweet. Or in the article, the author describes Maine in 1850, period. He also describes Maine in 1860, or something like that. I don't know, I'm just kind of winging it. So that's it for conjunctions. Should I continue on to prepositions, or do you want to do them separately?
I think if we just go through them, because then I think we'll see plenty of examples in my students' papers.
Okay.
Agreed. You provided great examples. Thank you for that.
No, thanks. The students did it.
So prepositions indicate location, time, or movement. I put a couple examples of prepositional phrases. There's very simple preposition and noun, like saying at home or under the box. Well, actually, that would be a preposition with a modifier and a noun, under the box or under the blankets.
Bailey, I'm sorry, did you email a document or something? I feel like you're referring to something I don't know where to look.
She
Yeah,
did.
I emailed it to you. I can give you the link right now if you want.
I'm sure I have it in my email right here. I just wanted to
Yeah,
ask.
it was. I think we got it this afternoon and yesterday also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in my Gmail, right?
I believe so. I just sent it in the chat as well, and if you have the link, you can access it.
Yeah, it was attached to the same as where we had the joining the chat thing. She says eloquently.
Okay, so sorry, keep going.
Can you see it, or do you want me to?
It's a really good summary. She really.
Floating. I'll have it here momentarily.
Okay, cool. Then from prepositional phrases, I listed a lot of common mistakes for language learners. So ending a sentence with the preposition, where do I put the papers at? Or what are you working on? Would you say that? What are you working on? Yeah, I guess that's correct.
We do, but we avoid it.
Yeah. Overuse of prepositions. So this one I haven't seen personally, but maybe I just haven't been looking out for it. The example I put was, can you put the footballs in the back of the couch instead of behind? I'm sure that I've seen students use that, but just haven't picked up on it before.
Yeah, and that ending a sentence with a preposition, colloquially, we do it all the time, but we're always told that it's not good grammar.
Yeah. Then this one I've seen with my students, misusing prepositions with time. So my example that I wrote was, I've been working out since 3 months. Instead of, I've been working out for 3 months or since 3 months ago. They're misusing the preposition there. And the next one I said was misuse of comparative adjectives with prepositions. So the example that I put was, I am younger to my sister, as opposed to I am younger than my sister. And that kind of leads into misuse of to or that with a verb followed by a direct object without prepositions. So like this resembles to that.
Mm-hmm.
Or my brother married to his girlfriend this weekend. And then also prepositions with movement, like meet me on the gas station or he plays in the team.
Okay.
So that was just a very, very brief overview of everything I wrote.
And we're going to see that Mariana, Adriana, and Gustavo do some of these. They're a little more sophisticated. They don't do the most common of the errors, but they do plenty of errors.
Yeah, I wish I had thought of more complex errors to type up in here.
Well, it's hard, but and I think we'll find them here because I actually, as I looked closely through these samples, I hadn't looked at them with that eye, and it was making me realize that these kids need a lot more work on some of these preposition and conjunction detailing than I thought. So, do you all have copies of the papers?
Yes.
Why don't we start with Mariana because she is the most she's recently been promoted to NEP 2, but she's only did you see my little summary of their backgrounds?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. So she's only she's about 2 years out of Mexico. She has a really upper middle class family in Mexico, so she had some education, general education. She's a smart girl. She had some general education and some education in English, but she came in very much in the silent period last year, and she wouldn't talk. And even the beginning of this year, when we threw her into the ESL, ELA combined class, she was panicky. She was begging. She had been in a NEP 1 beginner class last year, and she was begging to be back in the beginner class. We had to tell her that we just don't have the resources for that anymore. And you're in your second year, so it's, we've got to help you graduate. For a long time, she just kept on sitting with friends and speaking Spanish to them and was really reluctant to speak English much at all. But recently, she's been doing a lot better. I'm actually really pleased with how she's doing.
Can I ask you a question? So you indicate here some experience she had with English, but what was her proficiency, both academic and socially, in Spanish in her primary language?
Quite good. She's actually one of my strongest Spanish speakers. Because I get them to teach me, and when I occasionally ask somebody for how to describe something in Spanish, she often really can. And many of the other kids who've just learned street Spanish often can't. But she's actually one of my more proficient Spanish, which you can see there's quite a bit of interference in her writing. And she's more than many of the other kids. There's quite a bit of interference. So, any other questions about her before we look at her sample?
No.
So I think it's I'm looking at her. I think. And when we look at, did you see the new WIDA standards I sent you? The new WIDA standards are kind of cool. But she's perfectly hitting that first one, generating argument by representing opinions with I think. So she's hitting that first quadrant of confidently using I think. And she's also hitting the second quadrant, showing that strong opinions using evaluative language, and she's trying to do that. So she's in command of the fact that she's writing an argument. But beyond that, there begin to be issues. Our first, the with toy guns, I think children should be, here we go. I think children should be allowed, so there we're seeing some transference, to play with toy guns. She gets the with toy guns. She's comfortable with because, but just like we talked about with your student, Bailey, she loves because, and we probably need to begin to show her other ways to move on to different conjunctions. Because is not saved. I'm disagree. I mean, we can't hit everything, but just the because, this is, and due to. I was impressed that she got the due to in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's another more complex conjunction. So what
You
do
know
you
what?
guys think just in the first paragraph?
Going back to that first because in the first sentence there when she says, I think children should not be allowed to play with toy guns, comma,
Yeah.
because is not saved. The interesting thing there is she clearly understands clause structure, which is
Uh-huh.
she's missing that pronoun it, which complicates things a little bit.
You're
But
right.
she's misusing that comma. She's over punctuating when
Mm-hmm.
usually we see that under punctuation. But then in the following paragraph, she properly punctuates with a comma the dependent clause between BB pellets and rubber bands, comma. So this is too much dangerous because people can go blind at the
Right.
end of that paragraph. So I feel like she's got so much potential here because she's understanding the clause connection
Yes.
because, and that's so. So just helping her understand the need for connecting independent clauses is the last little piece, I think.
Okay, that's a good point. And then also the rubber bands, comma, so this is too much dangerous. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
helping her see how to build that sentence within a better English structure. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of transference from Spanish here, isn't there? I mean, from
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, she's almost translating literally in some. But I think the point you're making, Jennifer, that her clause structure is strong, probably is coming partly because she can do that in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
could we say for Mariana, a next step could be to help her identify or understand the difference between independent and dependent clauses?
Great idea, yeah.
You know,
Help
just and it's really easy to explain too.
her.
An independent clause is a sentence that can be on itself in the same way, like if you're independent, you don't need your parents to drive you to school anymore.
That's a good way
If
to
you're
put it.
dependent on your parents, you still need your parents' support. Kind of like a sentence still needs support from
I like that.
more words, I guess.
And I often point out that
Just
if there's
understanding that subject-object idea too. I mean,
yes,
Yeah.
I mean, the requisite component of understanding structure. So, you know, if something has to be doing the action, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we can't have, if something is being described, there has to be some kind of noun that belongs to it. So understanding that subject-object will help
exactly.
her solidify that last little bit of what an independent clause is versus something embedded or
Mm-hmm.
something dependent, which will help with that comma usage.
Yeah,
And
I
I bet
often
that's something you could teach to the whole class too. I think it might take them a while to learn it, but you could just include it in a mini lesson in like 15 minutes and have it in warm-ups or something like that, you know, like
yeah, good idea.
complete this dependent clause.
I did a little while ago, I did a little thing on conjunctions and when you need a comma after. And I also point to them, look for a noun or look for a verb as one way to think about it. If it goes on to another verb, then, you know, walking down the street and singing my song, I don't need a comma. Walking down the street and the dog was with me, I do need a comma.
You know what else you could do too? I read in the discussions this week, I don't know who posted it, but someone had mentioned that they've had a lot of success with their students remembering things through chants and songs.
Mm.
You should
Oh,
totally
yeah.
show them like conjunction junction.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Oh,
wrong
conjunction.
stuff.
Okay.
You know, it might help them remember it. And tell them about fanboys also.
I did briefly, and that didn't stick much. I have to do more with it, but
I always learn really well with, what are those called? Anagrams?
mnemonics.
Yeah, that always helps me, like if I'm trying to remember something. So I'm sure it probably helps others as
They
well.
have fun with that too. They like chants and
You
songs,
could
so that's
have them like make their own mnemonic.
so. Okay, well, do you want any other thoughts on Mariana in general? I mean, she's growing fast.
Hmm.
But she has a lot of pretty heavy duty restructuring to get stronger with her English.
I don't have any more thoughts. Jennifer, do you?
No, let's move on to Adriana.
Okay.
Okay. Adriana's a whole different case. As you can see, she's almost 4 years since Mexico. She actually lives in the trailer park community here and has a lot more issues with family and a lot more issues with education. And as you can see, look how she got frozen as a NEP 2 for 3 years. She's just been sort of not progressing.
Stagnant.
moving into the mixed ESL, ELA class at first really froze her almost worse. She felt very overwhelmed, and I couldn't give her the same attention I could in the individual. I wasn't her teacher in the segregated, the pulled out class last year, but she really wasn't growing at all. But she's recently been growing a little bit more. Partly she's been partnering some with Mariana, and actually Mariana's been helping her some because Adriana also really prefers to speak Spanish still, and her English is. But you can see she has almost more fossilized errors in her English. There's stuff going on that I'm sort of surprised she's still struggling so much with. So she's a tough case. She's a smart girl, but it's hard to get her motivated. She stopped believing she's going to improve. So
Aw.
she's a whole different case where Mariana's much more motivated.
On a note not related to next steps grammar-wise, I
Yeah.
think with students like that who just get beaten down and feel like they aren't improving and kind of decide that they're not getting better,
Mm-hmm.
definitely internalize that. And I find that it's really helpful to have them experience like small wins in class, whether you knowingly like walk around and you see that they have an answer correct and kind of preheat it and say, hey, this is correct, I'm going to call on you, is that okay?
Yes.
Then pick on them. Or if you ask like student A a question and student A has it right, then you could say, hey Adriana, what's the answer again? Just
Mm-hmm.
like little stuff like that really helps boost the confidence, and I'm sure you do it, but
A little bit. I've actually just lately I've been getting some real growth from her. I've been doing more pull-out groups, and in the small pull-out groups of relatively similar reading level ELLs is one of the groups where I get her to speak and she's willing to speak, and I'm seeing her really blossoming in that situation. And I'm
yeah.
getting real growth from her there.
Well,
But that's a really good point because she will not speak to the whole class. I mean, she just mumbles and freezes and
yeah.
looks.
I found because I've had that so many times where a student is so shy they won't speak, I'll
Mm-hmm.
come around and ask them,
Yes.
hey, you have this right, is it okay if I call on you? They'll probably say no like 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Someday they will say yes, and then they can have that chance to have the answer right.
Exactly.
You know?
And I'm pleased with her lately, but you can see how much work she has to do, which is almost overwhelming when I look at her writing and sort of think where can I start and where can I give her those successes? I mean, like she's still pluralizing children, and just so many things that you would expect to have her have behind her by now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she is using because it's dangerous, violent, and unsafe. That first, children shouldn't be allowed to play with guns because it's dangerous, violent, and unsafe. That's not a bad sentence, really.
No, that's like a perfect thesis statement that I
Uh-huh.
try to teach my kids to write, and they can't wrap
Yeah. We've really been working on thesis statements this year.
Yeah. Hers
And
is,
we've really been working on conjunctions and complex sentences.
Yeah.
It's been a big focus.
yeah.
So she gets that. And note that and actually I was getting all excited on children because it's dangerous and you can hurt someone, even though I have a feeling she took that from the article, though. Though maybe she used it.
That's okay if she's still practicing.
Some of this is quoted from the article and she's copying it wrong from the article, but even still.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think, Jennifer? What are your thoughts on what we can work on with Adriana?
You know, I see a few places where she's missing a pronoun or using an unnecessary pronoun.
Yes.
In her third paragraph down, 1, 2, 3 lines from the bottom, she says, kids with such mentality of using guns or playing gun battles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so blunt and raw without that preposition in there.
Yes.
Playing in battles or participating in gun battles. It's so, or playing gun battles. It's so I feel like she also adds in unnecessary pronouns. In the next paragraph down, she says, so children shouldn't be allowed to play with toy gun because it's unsafe. In the article says, so
Yeah.
she just needed to say the article says. So she's putting this in all the wrong places. Like,
Yes.
she knows to be there. She's like on the cusp, but she's not using it where she should, and she's using it inappropriately in other places.
Exactly. And for real ones has not been as bad as it could be. But you're right, she's on the cusp. There's a lot to work with here. And she is progressing, and I love how she's building more complex sentences. That's something she's gotten a lot, even though she's doing it in clunky ways, she's gotten a lot stronger with it this year.
And that goes back to like what Bailey was saying about those small victories. You know, like this is a super clunky sentence, but coming by and saying like, you're right here, you know, like check this out. Here's what we have happening here. Here's where you've done this really well.
Like that first sentence, how you use the because I should celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if you wanted to give her feedback on a specific sentence, say it is this one. In the article says, quote, the problem of mistaking a toy. You could say, wow, you found a really great quote here, but we need to rewrite this first half.
Okay, yeah.
One suggestion that I have for a next step would maybe be to provide her and the other students with some sentence frames.
I've been doing that some, but doing more, and they love that, and that's part of why they're doing so well with some of these structures.
Because I would give them like 2 or 3 to use. Like if you're about to use a quote, you can say the article states, the author explains, and just give them like 3 to pick from, because they like to switch it up too. And then maybe she saw one of your sentence frames and wrote this one on herself and like tried to attempt it, or maybe just made a mistake on it, but could be
in the article and the article states is one of the some of the sentence frames we've given them, and you'll see Gustavo fell in love with some of those too. But but the sentence frames really help. A great idea to work to mix them up a little bit so they have a real toolbox.
Yeah, I like to give them choice, and I have interactive notebooks where I'll just like give them a whole thing, cut it out, paste it in your notebook, and then every time they write, they can just do it on their own accord. Or you could hang it on the wall, something like that, so they can always.
I'd like to hear more about the interactive notebook and how you do that.
Oh, yeah, it's still trial and error. It's really awful, to be honest. I need to have like a set one for the entire quarter or semester done.
Yeah.
So if I plan, I can anticipate what goes where, but I've done them twice now, and they're really, really messy. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I know. I have sentence frames all over the place, and I keep wanting to make more of a document. What's it called when you have a document, a mentor document on the wall? I have visions of beautiful mentor documents on my walls, and
that would probably be helpful, and say like make your class time more efficient and have them be more independent too if they just had it and knew where to find it.
I recently just got a breakout room for my break because the health unit was done, and they let me have the room for the rest of the year. So I've got a place to pull small groups, and I want to put some mentor posters up with lots of sentence frames.
Or like a bookmark or something.
Yeah, and just get them much more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So, all right, great suggestions. And you can see on the other side she didn't really finish it. And then Gustavo is a wonderful kid. He's one I've been working with very closely for 2 years, and he's made a lot of progress. He was on the edge of becoming sort of an ESL lifer. I mean, you can see his progress. He's in the community. And when I met him, he was in my advanced ESL class, and he was a total cut-up and probably one of the biggest discipline issues in the class. But I could see right away that he was a smart guy, and I gave him a motivation to really try on the MAPS test, and his score went up by 40 points because all he had to do was try. And with that number, I moved him from my advanced class to my transition class.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he became for a little while he had a hard adjustment because he liked being with his friends, and I think he was scared. I think having that faith in him that he could move was scary for him.
Did you see behavior changes when he wasn't around his friends so much?
Yeah, I did. I mean, and I moved him from some of his friends. And this year in the in the class where he's with the native speakers, and it's the mixed class, he's really soaring. He's doing really well. I mean, he's matured a lot too. He's not nearly as much of a discipline issue, and he's continuing. I don't think he's quite gonna FEP out this year, but we don't have the access scores, and I'm feeling pretty I've told the North Glen people to make sure he's in the transition class, and that they also give him the language arts class so that he's got the ESL as an elective. Because I think he's grown. You can see he's grown a lot, but he still has some really interesting it's like many kids when they get to this level, they begin to get more fluent, but there's a lot of fine-tuning that can stop them from getting to full fluency. So I'm curious when you look at his paper, what sorts of things you're seeing, because I'm used to looking at his writing.
The first one I see are some missing prepositions. For example, where
Mhm.
he says, "My first reason why they shouldn't, because some kids," it should be shouldn't
Yes.
is because.
Yeah, because that
There was
sentence,
another
yeah,
missing
that sentence sort of falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
My first
So,
reason,
but is not a preposition. Is a verb.
Oh, you're
His
right.
problems
yeah,
his problems are actually with missing verb phrases.
Yeah,
So the one you
it is.
identified is actually a verb issue.
you're
He's
right.
got another one with the missing verb phrase in the first and second
Yeah.
paragraph. He's got verb construction issues all the way throughout.
Yes,
So he does miss a couple of he misuses the preposition to when he should have used the adverbial too. So
yes,
he's mixing that up.
yeah.
But I feel like that's an error kids make all the time. Language
That's
learners
just
are
a spelling
not
error.
Yeah,
have
native
anything to do
speakers
with
do it
no
too. Yeah,
that person. Yeah. So, but I feel like honestly, this example, he is missing a coordinating conjunction in the third paragraph down. But
yes,
other than that, like it's mostly verb issues. He's
yes.
missing a prep. Is that no? That was Ariana too. Yeah. So then he's missing a comma to separate conjunctive adverb again. So
Sure.
a couple of
Mhm.
those more complicated conjunctions.
Okay, yeah.
But verbs are a problem for this kiddo.
So so we need to back up a little with him on verbs, it looks like, actually, and get him a little more comfortable with how they work and making sure he's in control of them.
Yeah, verbs are a big problem here. It looks like.
Hmm.
Because his prepositional and his conjunction errors are minor comparatively. You know, they're very, very minor.
And you can see he's very comfortable with, in my opinion, and what was it he kept on saying? According to the article, he likes according to the article, and he uses that nicely.
Yes.
And according to the article, it states that all works for him. But that's also one of the sentence frames we've been hammering them with. So he's got it.
Yeah, he looks like he's teachable, very teachable. You know, like you talk about a kid being coachable when you're
Yes.
teaching him how to softball or something. He seems super coachable, which
Mhm.
is it seems like it's gonna make your next steps pretty easy to implement and track with this kiddo because I feel like you'll be able to point this verb thing out and do a
Yeah.
little practice. He's probably gonna pick it up quickly and try to please you.
He's very sharp, and he's quite coachable when he understands. He gets frustrated, of course, but when
Hmm.
and I've sort of been trying to give him that what he needs to straighten things out because he knows things aren't feeling quite right. Even he's advanced enough to know that things don't feel quite right, and he'll say, Miss, what's happening here, and so, but that's
I
exactly it.
love that when my kids say that too. Miss, what's happening here?
Exactly.
Kills
It's
me.
usually Miss,
Yeah. My
and then
mom
you get
asked me, does it bother you that they just call you Miss? I'm like, not at all.
No.
Like it's something endearing actually.
well, actually,
You know what?
Gustavo, yeah, Gustavo.
What used to bother me was when I was in school, some students would call the teacher.
Oh
Like
yeah,
when I was
they
in grade
do.
school, I hated that because I thought it was really disrespectful. I was like, they have a name. But
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
now I've since learned that in other places they call the teacher like maestro or maestra,
Uh-huh.
and it's a sign of respect. Someone is actually at my door really quick. Oh, just kidding. My roommate's got it. I thought you were
No,
outside because it was so dark. Anyway,
actually,
Well,
that
okay,
was
so
hilarious. Yeah,
let's see.
because they actually
What do we
many.
need to do
I'm sorry.
to wrap up here?
No, I was just
We've
going to
got
add
some.
one.
Yeah, no, do.
I was just going to add one teeny anecdote, but it was just that I'm Dr. Tussaud,
oh,
so and I don't enforce that at all. I mean, it's just I mostly want them to know what a PhD is all about, so they understand that's what happens. But they use it very like Gustavo's wonderful. When he comes up to me and says, "Dr. Tussaud," I know immediately that he's got some special favor that he's planning on asking me, or he's trying to wheedle me into something. So
oh,
they
that's
know
funny.
perfectly well
Got a
that that's what they.
fine-tuned sense of purpose and audience.
No, it's hilarious, but anyway, so
So, is there anything else we want to touch on as far as prepositions or conjunctions are
no,
concerned?
I mean, if you have any other advice or anything else you want, if you have, I mean, you can add anything else you want to the notes when you're pulling them together, Jennifer, but.
I think we've gotten better at this every week.
Yeah.
We think of the next steps as we go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By week 8, we'll be complete pros, but it's feeling very much more natural now.
Mm-hmm.
What am I, next week?
We want to mention specifically about the WIDA can-dos.
Oh, right. Yes, the WIDA can-dos. We can talk about how Mariana at her rising level 1, we can see that you can see pretty clearly that she was able to use the I think and was getting comfortable with stating opinions, but I don't see Mariana or Adriana really substantiating their opinions with the evidence and examples quite so clearly. They're sort of trying, but you can see that Gustavo gets quite a bit more comfortable doing level 4 type work of substantiating opinions and using the quotes the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And using substantiated content-related claims, which is getting into level 4. I don't know, would you say that Gustavo was presenting opinions in persuasive essays backed by content-related, and justifying ideas using multiple sources? There's not enough scope to that article.
No, not yet.
But I mean, I think we can see that they're sort of doing what we might expect them to be doing.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at writing, they're definitely reproducing words and phrases related to a topic.
Yes.
I see, your first student, I forgot her name, Mariana.
Yeah.
Talks about the Eid al-Fitr holiday, so she's reproducing ideas there.
That's important, yeah.
Producing statements related to main ideas.
So it is interesting that what they're able to do is roughly predicted by their supposed current NEP-LEP level.
Mm-hmm.
And then next steps are shown by thinking what are the next things we need to start working on, getting them into.
Yeah. But I don't have anything else to add. I'd say we covered everything pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Okay. Well, I will end the recording then, and we'll see you guys next Friday.
Absolutely. Good job, ladies.
Jennifer, I will email you the link for the video right now as soon as we close out.
And what am I next week?
We go back to week 1.
So I'm the grammarian.
So you'd be grammarian. I'll be the director, so I'll provide the sample.
And I'll be.
And then Bailey notes.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Bye, guys. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Are you on break next week?
My break's almost over. No, this is the end of my break.
I'm just heading on break. In fact, I took today off and I just got back from a hike, so.